when you're finished editing an image, you need to save it. And I think the best practice, especially when we're working in the environment where we're creating a publication, like in InDesign, uh, we want to save the image as a new save. So, um, by the way, there's something I want to show you just before we save it. Before I save it, I made a few adjustments. I use these adjustment layer tools, and the way you do that is you just click right here, and you can choose one of these adjustment layers, like to do vibrance or hue saturation or whatever. I encourage you to play around with these because if you notice that I have an exposure layer, a levels layer, a hue and saturations layer, and I made little adjustments using each one of these. And after you make those adjustments, you can just click and hold down and drag to turn them on and off so that you can see them. I also like to work with a copy. So like I showed you in another video, I like to make a copy of the layer so that I'm only working with that copy. And then when I save it all, I'm just turning off the original layer. So sometimes I just want to go back and compare it to the original, and then look at the changes I've made with everything. I made some really simple changes on this. So when you want to save this, you have a lot of options. You have this regular save, and that's easy to understand. It just saves this over the same file as you saved it before. Save as has a few options right here. You can save as a Photoshop thing, and then you have these large document format, Photoshop PDF. That's a PDF, portable document format. And then this TIFF is a lossless file type that could be seen by other. Um, it's a kind of a universal form, file form. If you use Photoshop right here, it preserves all the layers and everything. But when you're doing it just for the magazine for the school, uh, I wouldn't want to save it as a Photoshop because it's just going to be huge. So I wouldn't even use the save as command. You have a couple other options. You have the save as a copy and then export. And notice that export has all these options like PNG and layers to files and all that. We're not really worried about that. There's this export as option where you can come in here and then you can choose a specific option. This is kind of a good way to do it. It's a little bit of a confusing interface first time you use it, but it doesn't have a place right here. It's saved as a JPEG scale and everything. If I click on export here, now it opens up this dialog box where I can give it a name and tell it where I want it saved. I'm going to cancel both of these. The one I recommend using, which I think is kind of an easy one to use, at least just for this class, is save a copy. And then from this dialog right here, from this drop-down menu, there's three JPEG formats, this JPEG, JPEG 2000, JPEG Stereo. Use the first one, just a plain old JPEG. So you should save it in the InDesign folder that we have. Like this is the From the Ashes folder in the Google Drive. You're saving it in the shared drive in the Google Drive so other students could use it too. So say you're working on a picture and then somebody else is going to put it in the magazine. You'd want to put it in the pictures folder and then choose the spread that it's going to belong in. Give it a meaningful name, like portrait, mountain portrait. Then select the spread that you want it to be in. So we're in the From the Ashes. This is the Miniterm 8 one in the pictures folder, and say it's going to go onto spread on page 4 or 5. And let's call it mountain portrait. It's a JPEG. We're going to save it. There's one more dialog box that shows up, and this is the quality one. You really don't need to go higher than 9. It's going to be fine. It's going to be 300 by 300 pixels, which is good enough for this. I think the magazine we printed at 600 by 600 pixels, but your eye's not going to be able to see much of a difference between 300 by 300 and 600 by 600. So I'm going to click OK. Then it's going to save it. It's done saving. There's a little bar that goes across right here really fast. And that's it. So save your document as a JPEG so that we can use it in the magazine. And I'm going to have a video that shows you how to do that later.